Hi there, this is Mark, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Enhancing the Human Experience, the podcast designed to help you get the most out of life. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking all about why I focus so much on state of being, state of consciousness, state of mind in my writing and on my website, and just kind of as the core of my message, right? Because I know it's not all about that. It's not all about what you are. It's also about what you do. But the reason that I focus so much on the state of being and getting the right mindset is because everything flows from that, right? All of our actions that we do in the world, whether they're in relationships, business, life in general, all flow from our state of consciousness or state of being, also synonymous with the I am, right? This goes back to what you are comes to you, or you do in accordance to what you are, right? And the reason that I focus on this is that I've found it over and over again in all of the what I call masters, right? I'm talking about all of the spiritual gurus, all of the new thought movement leaders, and even modern day masters, right? Modern day philosophers and psychologists. It all comes back to this sense that when you know what you are, and when you design yourself at the level of mind and you go out into the real world, you will do things that will be congruent with that and be in alignment with that. And then of course you'll realize your goal, right? Because what we are comes to us. And that's something that I think is like foundational in life. You know, this is the same kind of stuff that Maxwell Maltz was talking about in Psycho-Cybernetics, and he had incredible results with people from all ranges of life and all walks of life. You know, sports figures, actors and actresses, business people, they all benefited from that. And if you haven't checked that book out, it's really, really good. You know, it's all about designing your self-concept in a way that supports the situations you want to have in life. And it can be done that way. It's like reverse engineering, right? A lot of self-help people and psychologists talk about, hey, you know, and even Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. What do you want out of life, right? What's your end outcome that you want? And then who do you have to be in order to get it? And what do you have to become in order to get it? And like I talk about in my book, Just Be It, what qualities, characteristics, and attributes do you need to embody within yourself in order to put you in alignment and support that situation and those circumstances that you want to have? So that's why I talk about state of being so much. Now, if we could put numbers to it, which I like to put numbers to stuff, maybe it's like the Pareto principle, right? Maybe it's an 80-20 split. I don't know. See, I don't really know, but I do believe that's a good model to look at. Maybe it's 80% state of being, state of mind, and 20% activity and doing and actually getting in and executing the technique in the real world, right? Because we know people who try really, really hard and they appear to be doing all the right things, but they're not getting the results that they want. We ask ourselves, why is that? I mean, it happens to me all the time, and you got to step back and remove yourself from the situation and from the activity levels and say, hey, what do I need to change either in what I'm doing or what I'm being in order to get this result? And when we look at it from an objective standpoint, we may say, as I've done plenty of times, say, hey, I'm doing too much. I'm really busy doing a lot, but I'm not getting the results that I want. So what do I need to change within myself to change that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the results. It's the only thing that matters, the results and who we become in the process. But again, when we look at the reverse engineering of who we need to become, then you can get out a sheet of paper and write down the qualities, attributes, and characteristics that you need to embody in order to do the things necessary in the right way to get what you want. So that's really why I'm really focused on state of being and why I find it to be the foundation of life. And you get into the control room in your mind, in your psyche, and you change yourself. Because one of the things that I find fascinating about life, and I've probably mentioned this in previous podcasts, is this notion that we're all living on the same planet, Earth. But all of us are having vastly different experiences in life, vastly different. We have access to the same resources that everyone else does, same opportunities, same ideas are floating around in the ether, just like I believe it was Thomas Edison that said, they're floating around in the ether. We could all grab those ideas. We could all take that idea, combine it with energy, like Buckminster Fuller talks about, ideas plus energy equals wealth. Any one of us could take any one of those ideas floating in that ether, combine it with our energy, spiritual and physical, and put that idea to work for other people and create wealth for ourselves, or create health for ourselves, or create a great relationship, or whatever, right? The equation is the same. You just put in the outcome that you want at the end. Any one of us can do that, but not all of us do it. We all have access to the same tools, but not all of us do that. And that's what I find extremely fascinating. And the reason, the answer for that, I come back to time and time again because of all the stuff that I've read, all the stuff that I've seen, my own observation, is that if you're not in the state of mind to see that idea or expect that idea to come to you or look for it, whatever, it's not going to. It's going to go to someone else, or it's going to go to the person who wants to develop that idea, who says to the universe and raises their hands and says, I'm an idea developer, send me something awesome. And the idea comes down to them. But the person who doesn't think of that themselves in that way and is continually in this state of maybe I'm not good enough, or I'm not ready, or I'm not worthy, all of those things, they're not going to get that idea. And they're not going to be catapulted then to that next level. The reality is, the world has problems. There's a lot of problems to solve, and there's a lot of ideas out there that are waiting in this like embryonic state, waiting to come down and be born to someone who's going to nurture them and raise them upright, and then send them off into the world where they solve problems, where they help people have better lives, all of those things. So I just look at it in that way that, if we want to access those ideas that are out there, we have to always tune in our consciousness and say, how can I be more in alignment and more receptive to those ideas that are floating out there that are going to help ourselves and other people? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want, is we want to raise this level of experience up for all of us. And the way to do that is by plucking those ideas from this like cosmic tree, nurturing them, watering them, taking good care of them, growing them up, and then sending them out into the world where they can do their work, right? And that's what I find really fascinating. So that's a little bit of background about why I'm so passionate about the state of being. And I want to be really, really clear that, again, I know that we need to do and we need to take action on those ideas and action on from our state of being, right? The equation or formula as I look at it is, state of being plus state of doing equals the results that you want. Both of those things have to be in alignment. And you've probably seen in your own life or the lives of other people when one of those areas is not in alignment. We're either low self-esteem, low self-worth, not the self-concept that's appropriate, but maybe the person's working really hard and they're not getting the results they want. Both of those parts of the equations need to be fully up to speed in order to produce that result. It's the inner and the outer work, the inner game and the outer game. Both important, absolutely both important. We can't just sit here and think, I'm going to be this thing in my mind and never take any action and wait for something to happen. That is akin to, the old story and joke of someone sitting on the roof saying, I'm going to wait for God to help me. And before I do anything, I'm going to wait for God. God's coming. Well, guess what? You're the help that God sent you, right? Your own ideas, your own body, your own ability to execute those ideas. We're all our own help that God sent us, right? Why not? So it has to be brought into the real world. But so that's why I'm really, I really think it's really important. And I just wanted to shed some light on that because sometimes I think, just as I have, people get this notion of, well, if I just be it, it's going to work out. No, that's the foundation. That's the starting point. That's the starting point of the equation. It has to be brought into action. the thing of it is, that's when it gets a little more difficult, right? That's when we're required to let go of what we've done in the past, cut a new groove. That's a little more challenging. Both aspects are challenging, doing the inner work and the outer work, but the physical work and the putting it into the real world, that can be, a little bit overwhelming. That's why people stay in the mind so much, right? But we need to get ourselves out of that in order to move forward. So I just wanted to shed some light on that and give you some background there, but that's the podcast. I'll wrap it up at that point. And I just want to remind you that you can download the Human Beings Manifesto free at justbeitbook.com. And you can download it as a PDF or a JPEG, whichever you prefer. And that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for new episodes in the future. And until then, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.